The Galactic Academy of United Species was the largest school in the known universe. It floated in the empty space between three star systems, a massive station made of white metal and glowing blue lights. Students came here from 1,000 different worlds. They came to learn, to grow, and to understand species different from their own. The Academy had seen many strange students over the years. There were the beings made of living crystal who spoke through vibrations. There were the creatures of gas and light who floated through the halls like colorful clouds. There were the tall and powerful beings with 4 arms and skin like dark leather. Each species brought their own culture, their own history, and their own way of seeing the universe. But none of them were quite ready for Park. She arrived on a transport shuttle on the first day of the new term. She was small by most species standards, standing just over 5 feet tall. Her black hair was cut short and practical. Her eyes were dark and calm, watching everything around her with quiet attention. She wore the standard Academy uniform, gray and simple, and carried only a small bag of personal items. The registration office processed her documents quickly. The administrator, whose crystal body hummed with nervous energy, looked at her file 3 times before speaking. "Earth," the administrator said. "You are from Earth." Nodded yes. "Class 12, the administrator continued, reading from the file. The crystal being's body changed color slightly, shifting from calm blue to anxious yellow. We have not had many students from. There are special forms, safety protocols. The other students must be informed." Waited patiently while the administrator made copies of various documents. She did not seem bothered by the fear in the crystal being's voice. She had heard this reaction before. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Earth. Earth was not like other planets. Most species evolved on worlds that were gentle and kind. Their planets had stable weather, calm oceans, and predictable seasons. The predators were manageable. The environment was safe. Earth was different. On Earth, liquid water fell from the sky without warning. The planet shook and cracked open, swallowing entire cities. Mountains exploded with fire and poison. The weather could change in hours, going from peaceful to deadly. The oceans were filled with creatures that had too many teeth and too little mercy. Even the air itself could kill, carrying diseases so small that no eye could see them. And yet humans had not only survived on this world, they had thrived. They had spread across every corner of their planet, from frozen wastelands to burning deserts to thick jungles filled with death. They had looked at a world that wanted to kill them and said, "No, we will live." This made them terrifying to the rest of the galaxy. Found her room in the student housing section. It was small but comfortable, with a bed designed for human bodies and a window that looked out at the stars. She unpacked her few belongings and sat on the bed, looking out at the endless dark of space. She was not the first human at the academy. There was one other, a young man named. He found her in the dining hall that evening, sitting alone at a table while other students kept their distance. "You must be the new transfer," said, sitting across from her. He spoke in Korean, their shared language, and it felt like home. "I heard you were coming. News travels fast when it arrives." Smiled slightly. "They seem afraid." "They are afraid," confirmed. He was taller than her, with a friendly face and easy manner. He had been at the academy for 2 years already and had learned how to move among alien species. "I have tried to tell them that humans are not monsters, but the stories about Earth are hard to forget." "What stories?" Laughed quietly. "All of them. They know about our wars, they know about our predators, they know that we eat the flesh of other animals." He shook his head. "To most species here, that alone is enough to make us terrifying. They have never met a creature that hunts, kills, and eats other creatures." Considered this. On Earth, eating meat was normal, but she could see how it might disturb beings who had evolved on peaceful worlds, where all life existed in gentle balance. "I am not here to frighten anyone," she said. "I am here to learn." "I know," said, But others may not understand that. There is a student here, a named Han. His father is a war minister on there. Han believes he is the strongest being at this academy. He has been telling everyone that he will not be intimidated by any. His expression did not change. I see. Be careful around him, warned. They are proud. They come from a heavy gravity world and they are very strong. They have a warrior culture with formal challenges and duels. Han has won many such challenges here. I understand, said simply. Studied her face, trying to read what she was thinking, but its expression revealed nothing. She simply continued eating her meal, calm and unbothered. The next morning attended her first class. It was called Diplomacy, taught by Professor Oz, an ancient being made of pure psychic energy. The professor appeared as a soft glow of golden light floating at the front of the classroom. Took a seat in the back row. The other students glanced at her nervously, then looked away. She ignored their stares and opened her notebook, ready to learn. She did not notice the four-armed figure watching her from across the room. Han's dark eyes followed her every movement, and his four hands clenched into fists. The had arrived, and he would show everyone that she was nothing to fear. The first week passed quietly. Attended her classes, took her notes, and spoke to no one except. She ate her meals alone and spent her evenings studying in her room. To anyone watching, she seemed like the most boring student at the academy. But Han was watching, and he was not satisfied. The warrior had expected the human to be loud and aggressive. He had expected her to boast about her origins, to threaten other students, to act like the savage beast that humans were supposed to be. Instead, she was quiet, polite, almost invisible. This made him angry. How dare she act so calm? How dare she pretend to be harmless? Everyone knew what humans were capable of. Everyone knew the stories. On the 8th day, Han made his first move. Was walking to class, her notebook held against her chest, when a large figure blocked her path. Han stood before her, all four arms crossed, his dark eyes looking down at her with contempt. Human, he said. His translator device turned his growling voice into flat, mechanical words. You are in my way. Looked up at him. He was nearly 7 feet tall and built like a wall of muscle. His four arms could crush stone. His teeth were sharp enough to tear metal. I apologize, she said, and stepped to the side. Han blinked. He had expected her to challenge him, to show her aggression. Instead, she simply walked around him and continued toward her class. He stood there for a long moment, his four fists clenching and unclenching. The other students in the hallway whispered among themselves. They had seen it too. The human had backed down. This was wrong. This was not how it was supposed to happen. The next day, Han tried again. He sat behind in Professor Oz's class and waited until she had arranged her materials on her desk. Then, with one casual sweep of his lower left arm, he knocked everything to the floor. Notebooks, pens, and data tablets scattered across the ground. The other students gasped. Professor Oz's golden light flickered with concern. Looked at the mess on the floor. Then she looked at Han, who was smiling with all of his sharp teeth showing. My apologies, Han said, not sounding sorry at all. I did not see your things there. Human objects are so small and fragile. Said nothing. She bent down, gathered her materials, and returned them to her desk. Then she opened her notebook and continued taking notes as if nothing had happened. The classroom was silent. Even Professor Oz seemed uncertain how to respond. Han's smile faded. This was not the reaction he wanted. The harassment continued over the following days. Han made jokes about humans in the dining hall, speaking loudly so that could hear. He talked about Earth's bloody history, the endless wars that humans fought against each other. He described humans as persistent predators, animals that chased their prey for hours and hours until the prey collapsed from exhaustion and fear. They do not even have the honor to kill quickly, Han announced to his friends, a group of other students who laughed at his words. They chase and chase and chase. They tire their prey out, they make it suffer, and then they eat it. He made a sound of disgust. Savages. Sitting 3 tables away, did not react. She continued eating her meal, her face calm and peaceful. Sat with her, his own expression worried. "You do not have to accept this," he said quietly. "You could report him to the Academy authorities." Shook her head. "It would only make things worse. He wants me to react. He wants me to prove that humans are the violent monsters he believes us to be. And if he keeps pushing—" Was quiet for a moment, then she smiled, a small and mysterious expression. "Then he will learn a lesson." Felt a chill run down his back. He had known for only a short time, but he had learned one important thing about her. She had served in the Republic of Korea Marine Corps before coming to the Academy. 2 years of the most difficult military training on Earth. She had mentioned it only once, casually, as if it was not important. But knew better. He knew what that training meant. He knew what kind of person could survive it. The student called Harmonic 7 approached one evening in the common area. The crystal being's body hummed with curiosity and concern. "I do not understand the human female," Harmonic 7 said. "Han insults her every day. He threatens her honor. He treats her like prey. Why does she not respond?" Considered his words carefully. "Humans have a saying," he said. "The nail that sticks up gets hammered down is not sticking up. She is waiting." Waiting for what? For Han to make a mistake. Harmonic 7's crystal body shifted colors, showing confusion. "I do not understand. How can waiting be a strategy? Among my people, we resolve conflicts through harmonic resonance. Among they resolve conflicts through shows of strength. What do humans do?" Smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Humans wait, we watch, we learn our enemies' patterns, and then when the moment is right, we act." He paused. "We are predators after all. Patience is how we hunt." This body flickered with something that might have been fear. "You speak as if conflict is certain." With Han, yes. Looked across the common area to where sat alone, reading from a data tablet. He will not stop until he forces a confrontation. His pride will not allow him to walk away, and when that confrontation comes— He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Harmonic 7 looked at the small human female, so quiet and peaceful in her corner. For the first time, they understood why we're feared throughout the galaxy. It was not because they were loud or aggressive. It was because they were patient. They could wait for days, weeks, months. They could endure any insult, any threat, any challenge. And then, when their enemy was tired and careless, they would strike. Turned a page on her data tablet, her expression calm and content. She was waiting. And somewhere in the academy, Han was planning his next move, unaware that he was already being hunted. 3 weeks had passed since arrived at the academy. 3 weeks of insults, 3 weeks of harassment, 3 weeks of Han trying everything he could think of to break her calm exterior. Nothing worked. The human remained quiet, polite, and completely unbothered. This drove Han mad. He had never met anyone like her. On his, weakness was punished and strength was rewarded. If someone insulted you, you challenged them. If someone threatened you, you fought them. This was the way of warriors. But did not follow these rules. She did not react to his insults. She did not respond to his threats. She simply smiled and walked away, leaving him feeling foolish and angry. His friends began to laugh at him. Not openly, not directly, but he could see it in their eyes. The great Han, son of a war minister, could not even intimidate a small human female. It was embarrassing. It was unacceptable. On the night before it happened, Han drank fermented nectar with his companions. The sweet alcohol burned through his blood and loosened his tongue. "Tomorrow," he announced, his words slightly slurred. "Tomorrow I will end this. I will challenge the human to formal combat. She will have no choice but to accept. And then everyone will see what happens when a faces a true warrior." His friends cheered and drank more nectar. They did not see the danger. They did not understand what they were encouraging. The next morning, Han arrived at Professor Os's class early. He stood near the door, waiting. His 4 hands were steady despite the lingering effects of the nectar. In his upper right hand, he held something that gleamed in the light. A blade. It was a ceremonial fighting knife, passed down through his family for generations. The metal was dark and ancient, the edge sharp enough to cut through bone. Among his people, showing this blade was a serious matter. It meant that honor was at stake. It meant that blood might be spilled. The other students noticed the knife immediately. They began to whisper and move away, pressing against the walls of the classroom. Even Professor Os's golden form seemed to dim with concern. Then walked in. She was carrying her notebook, as always. Her hair was neat, her uniform clean. She looked like any other student arriving for a morning class. She stopped when she saw Han blocking her path. "Human," he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "On my world, we have a tradition. When someone insults our honor, we do not hide. We do not run. We face our enemy with courage and steel." He raised the blade, letting it catch the light. The other students gasped. In the corner began to cry, its gas body turning dark with fear. "You have insulted my honor," Han continued. "Your very presence at this academy is an insult. Your silence is an insult. Your false peace is an insult." He stepped closer, looming over her small form. "I challenge you to formal combat. By the laws of the Galactic Academy, you cannot refuse." Professor Os drifted forward, golden light flickering rapidly. "Han, this is highly irregular. The formal challenge protocols require advance notice, proper documentation. The protocols allow for immediate challenges when honor is at stake," Han interrupted. "I have studied the rules, Professor. The human must accept or be expelled from the academy for cowardice." The professor's light dimmed. Han was right. The academy respected the traditions of warrior cultures. If a formal challenge was issued, it had to be answered. Everyone looked at. She stood perfectly still, her dark eyes fixed on Han's face. She did not look at the blade. She did not look at the other students. She only looked at him. And then she smiled. It was not the polite smile she usually wore. It was not the small, patient expression that had come to recognize. This was something different, something that made the temperature in the room seem to drop. Harmonic 7, the student, later described what happened to their crystalline structure in that moment. They said that every molecule of their being vibrated with a frequency they had never felt before. It was fear, they explained. Pure, ancient fear. The kind of fear that prey animals feel when they realize they are being watched by something hungry. "Terms," said. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "Since you issued the challenge, I may choose the terms of combat. Is that correct?" Han's confidence wavered for just a moment. He had expected her to be afraid. He had expected her to beg, to plead, to try to escape. Instead, she was asking about rules. "That is correct," he admitted. Nodded slowly. "Then these are my terms: hand-to-hand combat, no weapons, no armor, no assistance from others. The fight ends when one of us yields or loses consciousness." Murmurs spread through the classroom. Han laughed, a harsh and disbelieving sound. "You reject the blade." He held up his knife, turning it so she could see the deadly edge. "You choose to fight me with your bare hands. Human, I have 4 arms. I am twice your size. My people have been warriors for 100,000 years. This is suicide." Did not react to his words. She simply waited, that strange smile still on her face. "Drop the knife," she said quietly. "Or do not, it will not change anything." Han stared at her. For the first time he felt something cold in his chest, something that might have been doubt. Then he threw the knife aside. It clattered against the floor, spinning away into the corner. "Very well, human, your terms are accepted." He began to remove his outer robe, revealing the powerful muscles beneath. His 4 arms flexed, each one thick with strength. "I will try not to kill you, but I make no promises." Set her notebook down on an empty desk. She rolled her shoulders once, loosening muscles that had not been used for combat in many months. "I make no promises either," she said. The classroom furniture began to reconfigure, moving aside to create a clear space in the center. The other students pressed against the walls, their eyes wide with terror and fascination. Pushed through the crowd until he could see clearly. His heart was pounding. He had warned Han. He had tried to make everyone understand. But now it was too late for warnings. Stepped into the center of the room, her small form dwarfed by the massive space. Han followed, his 4 arms already raised into a fighting stance. Professor Oz floated above them, golden light steady and solemn. "This challenge has been witnessed by the Academy. May both fighters show honor and restraint." And Han faced each other. The room was completely silent. "Begin," the professor said. Han moved first. He was fast, faster than any creature his size had a right to be. His 4 arms reached for like the striking legs of a spider, all of them moving at once, coming from different angles. It was a technique that had won him dozens of formal challenges. No opponent could block 4 attacks at the same time. But did not try to block. She moved. It was not the kind of movement that Han expected. She did not step back or try to run away. Instead, she stepped forward, sliding between his grasping arms like water flowing around stones. Her body twisted, turned, and suddenly she was beside him instead of in front of him. Her elbow struck his lower left arm at the joint. The sound it made was like a branch breaking. Han heard it before he felt it, a sharp crack that echoed through the silent classroom. Then the pain arrived, white-hot and blinding, and he screamed. His lower left arm hung limp at his side, the joint completely dislocated. He had never felt pain like this. Even in his most brutal training sessions, he had never been hurt so quickly, so efficiently. He swung with his remaining 3 arms, rage and pain making him wild, but was not where she had been. She had already moved, circling behind him while he was distracted by his injury. Her legs swept his feet out from under him. Han was a heavy creature from a high-gravity world. Falling should not have been possible. He was too strong, too stable, too well-trained. But somehow his legs were tangled and the ground was rushing up toward his face. He hit the floor hard enough to crack the synthetic material beneath him. Before he could rise, was on top of him. She moved with a precision that was almost mechanical, each action flowing into the next without pause. Her hands found pressure points he did not even know he had. Her legs wrapped around his torso, controlling his movement. He tried to grab her with his 3 working arms. She redirected each one, turning his own strength against him. When he pushed, she pulled. When he pulled, she twisted. Every movement he made only tightened her control. "On my world," said, her voice calm and steady despite the physical effort, "we have a martial art called Hapkido. It was created for situations exactly like this one. Smaller defenders against larger, stronger attackers." Han thrashed beneath her, using all of his strength to break free. He could crush stone with his hands. He could bend metal. He was the strongest student at the academy. And he could not move her. "The philosophy of Hapkido is simple," continued. "Do not meet force with force. Instead, redirect your opponent's energy. Use their strength against them. Turn their power into your weapon." She adjusted her grip slightly, and suddenly there was pressure on his throat. Not enough to choke him, but enough to make breathing difficult. Enough to remind him that she could do much worse. "We also have something called military service," she said. "In my country, it is mandatory. 2 years of training that would break most beings in this galaxy. I served in the Republic of Korea Marine Corps. We are considered one of the most elite fighting forces on Earth." From the edge of the room, translated for the confused students, his voice was quiet, almost reverent. That means she has been trained to fight and survive in conditions that would kill most of you. She has learned to endure pain, hunger, exhaustion, and fear. She has been taught to never give up, no matter how strong her opponent seems. Han's struggles grew weaker. He could not breathe properly. His dislocated arm sent waves of agony through his body. His other arms were trapped in positions that threatened to break them as well. He had never lost a fight, not once in his entire life. He was a warrior, born and bred for combat. His species had conquered star systems, and he was being destroyed by a creature half his size. "Your people call humans persistence predators," said. "You say it like it is an insult, but you do not understand what it really means." She shifted her weight, and Han felt his shoulder joint strain to its limit. One more inch of pressure, and it would pop from its socket like his other arm. "It means that we never stop. It means that we will chase our prey across mountains and deserts, through jungles and rivers, for hours and days if necessary. It means that we do not need to be stronger than our prey. We do not need to be faster. We only need to be more stubborn." She leaned closer, her face near his ear. "You have been chasing me for 3 weeks. You thought you were the hunter, but you were wrong. I was studying you, learning your patterns, finding your weaknesses." Han made a sound that might have been a growl or might have been a sob. His body was failing. His mind was clouded with pain and confusion. "Every time you knocked my things from my desk, I watched how you moved. Every time you made your little speeches in the dining hall, I listened to how you thought. Every time you walked past me in the hallway, I saw where you put your weight, how you balanced, which arm you favored." Her grip tightened just slightly. Han gasped. "You gave me 3 weeks to prepare for this moment. You told me exactly how you would attack. You showed me all of your weaknesses." His voice was soft, almost kind. "And you never even realized you were doing it." The classroom was absolutely silent. Every student, every species, watched with wide eyes and trembling bodies. They were witnessing something they would never forget. There was not just winning, she was teaching. "I could break your other arms," said. "I could choke you unconscious. I could do things to your body that your medical team would need days to repair, but I am not going to do any of those things." She loosened her grip just enough for Han to breathe easier. Because that is not what strength is about. Real strength is knowing when to fight and when to show mercy. Real strength is choosing not to destroy someone when you easily could. She looked down at his face, at the fear and pain and confusion in his dark eyes. "Yield," she said gently, "and this lesson is over." Han lay still for a long moment. His pride screamed at him to keep fighting, to never surrender, to die before admitting defeat. But his body could not answer. And somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, he had been wrong about many things. "I yield," he said. His voice was barely a whisper, broken and exhausted. But everyone heard it. Released him immediately. She stood up and stepped back, giving him space to breathe. Her uniform was barely wrinkled. Her breathing was only slightly faster than normal. She looked like she had just finished a light exercise, not a formal combat challenge. The classroom remained silent. No one knew what to say. No one knew what to do. Professor Oz floated forward, golden light pulsing with something that might have been wonder. "The challenge is concluded. Park is the victor." Nodded once, accepting the announcement. Then she walked back to her desk, picked up her notebook and sat down. "Professor," she said, her voice calm and polite, "I believe we were going to discuss diplomatic conflict resolution today. Perhaps this might serve as a useful case study." And despite everything that had just happened, she opened her notebook and waited for the lecture to begin. The medical wing of the academy was quiet and clean. White lights glowed softly from the ceiling, and the air smelled like chemicals and healing. Han lay on a bed designed for bodies, his lower left arm wrapped in a regeneration sleeve that hummed with gentle energy. The doctors said he would be fully healed in 2 days. Bodies were strong. They recovered quickly from injuries, but the wounds to his pride would take much longer to repair. He stared at the ceiling, replaying the fight in his mind. Every moment, every mistake, every time she had been exactly where she needed to be while he flailed like a foolish child. He had been so certain of his victory, so confident in his strength, his training, his warrior heritage, and she had broken him in less than a minute. The door to the medical room slid open. Han turned his head, expecting a doctor or perhaps one of his friends come to offer hollow words of comfort. Instead, he saw the other human. "You are not welcome here," Han said, his voice rough with exhaustion. Did not seem bothered by the hostile greeting. He walked to a chair near the bed and sat down, his posture relaxed and unthreatening. "I come with a question," said, "not to mock you or insult you, just a question." Han was silent for a moment, then despite himself he nodded slightly. "Ask." Why leaned forward. "You spent 3 weeks tormenting a student who had done nothing to you. You risked your reputation, your standing at the academy, your physical health. For what?" Han did not answer immediately. He looked back at the ceiling, thinking about the question, really thinking for perhaps the first time. "I was afraid," he finally admitted. The words came out slowly, painfully, like stones being pulled from his chest. Everyone talked about like they were monsters, like they were the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. And then she arrived and she was so small, so quiet, so peaceful. He turned his head to look at. "I thought it was an act. I thought she was pretending to be weak, waiting for a chance to attack. So I decided to force her to show her true nature, to prove to everyone that humans were the violent savages I believed them to be. And instead," said quietly, "she proved that she could have destroyed you at any moment, and chose not to." Han closed his eyes. "Yes." They sat in silence for a long while. The regeneration sleeve hummed. Somewhere in the distance, medical equipment beeped its slow rhythm. "There is something I do not understand," Han said finally. "She could have killed me. By the laws of formal challenge, she had every right. I threatened her with a blade. I forced the combat. And yet she stopped as soon as I yielded. Why?" Smiled, a gentle expression that contained no mockery. "That is the thing about humans from Earth. We grew up on a world that tried to kill us every single day. Every storm, every predator, every disease was trying to end us. We had to fight constantly just to survive." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "But we also learned something that many warrior cultures never understand. We learned that endless fighting leads to endless death. We learned that the greatest warriors are not the ones who kill the most enemies. They are the ones who know when killing is not necessary." Han opened his eyes. "I do not understand." "Did not spare you because you were weak," said. "She spared you because she saw something worth saving. She saw a proud warrior who had been taught to fear and hate. She saw someone who could become better if given the chance." He stood up from the chair and walked toward the door. But before he left, he turned back one more time. "She teaches a martial arts class on 7th day, open to all species. You should come." Han stared at him in disbelief. "She would teach me, after everything I did." "That is exactly why she would teach you," said. "Humans believe that anyone can change, anyone can grow, anyone can become better than they were yesterday." He smiled again. "It is perhaps our strangest quality. We never give up on people." And then he was gone, leaving Han alone with his thoughts. The 7th-day class became legendary at the academy. It started small, just and a handful of curious students who wanted to learn about human fighting techniques. But word spread quickly. The story of the formal challenge had traveled through every corridor and dormitory. Everyone knew what had done. And everyone wanted to understand how. Within a month, her class had over 100 students. who wanted to learn how to defend their crystalline bodies, who had never known physical combat in any form, who sought to understand a different philosophy of strength. And Han. He came to the first class with his arm still in a sling. He stood in the back, uncertain and ashamed, expecting to be mocked or rejected. Instead, simply nodded at him and continued her teaching. She taught them about balance and breathing. She taught them about reading an opponent's movements. She taught them about the difference between strength and wisdom. Fighting is easy, she told them one day. Any animal can fight. Any creature with claws or teeth or fists can hurt another creature. But choosing not to fight when you could, that is difficult. That requires true strength. She looked around the room at her students, her dark eyes moving from face to face. On Earth, we have many words for this concept: mercy, restraint, compassion, forgiveness. She smiled slightly. These are not words of weakness. They are words of power. They mean that you are strong enough to control yourself, strong enough to choose peace when violence would be easier. Han listened to every word. He practiced every technique. Slowly, painfully, he began to understand. Strength was not about destroying your enemies. It was about becoming the kind of person who did not need enemies at all. Professor Oz added a new case study to the diplomacy curriculum. It was titled The Human Doctrine: Why the Most Dangerous Species in the Galaxy Chooses Peace. The lesson explored the strange contradiction at the heart of human nature. Humans were capable of terrible violence. Their history was filled with war and destruction. They had weapons that could burn entire planets to ash. And yet they also created art, music, poetry, and love. They built hospitals and schools. They adopted children from other families, other cultures, even other species. They formed friendships with creatures that should have been their prey. The case study asked a simple question: how could the same species that invented nuclear weapons also invent the concept of human rights? The answer, Professor Oz explained, was that humans had learned something important over their long history. They had learned that the cycle of violence never truly ends. They had learned that hate only creates more hate. They had learned that the only way to build a lasting peace was to choose understanding over fear. Not all humans followed this wisdom, of course. Like any species, they had individuals who chose darkness over light. But enough of them, just enough, kept choosing peace, kept choosing hope, kept choosing to see the best in others even when the worst seemed more obvious. That was why the galaxy feared humans, and that was why the galaxy needed them. On the last day of the term, stood at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. She was alone, enjoying the quiet after months of classes and lessons and new friends. Footsteps approached behind her. She did not turn around. "I never thanked you," Han said. Smiled at her reflection in the glass. "For what?" "For showing me that I was wrong, for giving me a chance to become better." He stepped up beside her, looking out at the same infinite darkness. "For not destroying me when you easily could have." Was quiet for a moment. Then she turned to face him, her expression gentle and warm. "On Earth we have a belief. We believe that every person has the ability to change. Every monster can become a hero. Every enemy can become a friend." She reached out and touched his arm, the one she had injured so many months ago. "I saw the person you could become. I just helped you find him." Han looked at her small hand on his arm. Once, he would have seen it as an insult. Now he understood it was something far more powerful. It was forgiveness. "Will you return next term?" he asked. "Yes," turned back to the stars. "There are many more lessons to teach, and many more students who need to learn them." She smiled, and in that smile was all the hope and strength and stubborn optimism of a species that had survived everything the universe could throw at them. Humans were dangerous, this was true. But they were also kind, and brave, and filled with an endless belief that tomorrow could be better than today. And that, perhaps, was the most dangerous thing of all.